Good morning, children. Today we will do third chapter of chemistry, that is elements, compounds and mixtures. Before this, two chapters we have completed. I think you have gone through those chapters and those chapters are clear to you. This chapter, elements, compounds and mixture, will be divided into 2 or 3 parts. This is the first lesson, that is the lecture 1 of chapters elements, compounds and mixtures. I'll start with the chapter What is matter? The definition of matter. As you know, anything and everything around us that occupy space is matter. In this, light, sound, heat, light, sound, heat are not matters. Why? Because they don't occupy space. Anything and everything around us that occupies space is matter. I have shown you the different classification of matter with a flow chart. Matter is of 3 types: solid, liquid and gas. And you are having an idea about solid, liquid and gas which you have done in last class. Now this matter is classified into 2 parts. One is pure substance, another is mixture. What is a pure substance? Pure substance is having a constant composition throughout. It have the matter that have a definite composition throughout. They are known as pure substance. They are known as pure substance. Now pure substance can be elements and it can be compounds also. Come to the mixture part. What is mixture? Mixtures are having variable composition. Variable composition, that means it don't have a definite composition throughout. It is having variable composition. I'll explain all these things. I will explain to you in the following slides. Mixture can be divided into 2 parts. One is heterogeneous mixture, another is homogeneous mixture. And you are very much aware about all these things: pure substance, mixture, elements, compounds, heterogeneous, homogeneous. You know all these things. You have read all these things in the last class, in previous class. So in the following slides, I will now explain about all these things in detail. Let me start with elements. What are elements? The first point is that an element is a substance made up of one kind of atom only. Next, an element cannot be broken down by physical or chemical means because elements are made up of one kind of atom only. So it cannot be broken down. Third point is that an element has same atomic number irrespective of its origin. That means from anywhere you take that particular element, its atomic number will be same. You take hydrogen from anywhere. The symbol of hydrogen will be H and its atomic number will be 1. Next point is, as on date, 118 elements are known in the world. An element is represented by a symbol. Next is some of the examples of elements I have shown here. See, element hydrogen, symbol is H and atomic number is 1. Then element is oxygen. It will be oxygen, children. Okay, it will be O. One O is missing here. Oxygen, symbol is O and atomic number is 8. Calcium is the element, symbol is Ca and atomic number is 20. Zinc is the element, symbol is Zn, atomic number is 30. Element is uranium, symbol is U and atomic number is 92. So all the elements are having a particular symbol and having a particular atomic number, irrespective of the origin. In this slide, some examples of elements are shown. Metal, non-metal, metalloid, rare gas, everything is given here. I will explain all these things to you in the following slides. Here only the examples I have shown you. Like carbon is a non-metal whose atomic number is 6. Neon gas, it's a noble gas whose atomic number is 10. Copper is a metal whose atomic number is 29. Bromine is the only liquid non-metal whose atomic number is 35. Mercury is the only liquid metal at room temperature whose atomic number is 80. And iron is a metal whose atomic number is 26. All these things are coming under elements. Classification of elements. Elements can be classified into 4 categories: metals, non-metals, metalloids, and noble gases. Metals can be in the solid form or in the liquid form, but there is only one liquid metal at room temperature, that is mercury, that you know. And rest of the metals are solid in nature: iron, copper, zinc, etc. Non-metals, we can get non-metals in the solid form, liquid form, and gaseous form. Solid non-metal like phosphorus, carbon. Liquid, bromine is the only liquid non-metal that you know. And gas, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, chlorine, all these are gaseous non-metal. Now metalloids, they are solid in nature. Arsenic, As is arsenic, Asb is antimony, Bi is bismuth, all these are metalloids. And noble gases, you know there are 6 noble gases: helium, neon, argon, krypton, xenon, radon, all these things are noble gases. Let us see the properties of metals. This you already learnt in Standard 7. Let me see that what are the properties of metals. Metals are mostly monoatomic, such as sodium, potassium, calcium. They are monoatomic. What is monoatomic? Only one atom. Metals are generally ductile. What is the meaning of ductile? Ductile means they may be drawn into long wires. See, they may be drawn into long wires, copper wires. Copper is a metal. Third, metals are generally malleable. What is the meaning of malleable? They can be formed to different shapes. See, they are the different shapes. They can be formed to different shapes. Next is Metals generally have shiny luster and are good conductors of heat and electricity, and that is why we are using copper wire for passing electricity, because metals are good conductors of heat and electricity and they are having shiny luster. Last point, mercury is the only liquid metal at room temperature. Many a times I told you, and rest all are solid. So I think this is clear to you, properties of metals. Now, properties of nonmetals. Nonmetals can exist as solids, liquid and gases. First point. The second point is they are usually dull in appearance, just opposite to that of metals. The properties of nonmetals are opposite to that of metals. They are usually dull in appearance and metals are shiny. Third point, they are non-ductile, non-malleable and non-sonorous. Sonorous means making sound. Next point, they are normally polyatomic in nature. What do you mean by polyatomic? If it is having only one atom, they are known as monoatomic. Monoatomic. If two atoms, then diatomic. If three atoms, triatomic. 4 atoms, known as polyatomic. Polyatomic. But altogether Cl2H2P4, as it is having more than one atom, we are calling it as polyatomic in nature. Altogether. We are not saying diatomic, triatomic, we are saying polyatomic in nature. Clear? They are poor conductor of heat and electricity. Metals are good conductors of heat and electricity. Non-metals are poor conductors of heat and electricity. And they are essential for life. This is an important point. They are essential for life. Now here I have shown you one thing, elements in the human body. See, human body comprises mostly non-metals, but metals also play an important role in the body functioning. Now, this is just for increasing your general knowledge. Carbon is required for the body. Calcium is required for the body. You know about it. Nitrogen is required for the body. Hydrogen is also required for the body. And other elements is present there. Oxygen, you know, that is required. So oxygen is 65%, other elements 2%, hydrogen 10%, nitrogen 3%, calcium 2% and carbon 18%. All these things required in the body. This is just to increase your general knowledge. Now what about metalloids? The properties of metalloids? Metalloids means it is having, they're the element, they're neither metals nor non-metal, but exhibit some properties of both. Next is all metalloids are solid at room temperature. And some metalloids are shiny and many are conductors. So they are having the properties in between metals and non-metals. They are known as metalloid. Now the comparison of the properties of metal, non-metal and metalloids. Metals, non-metals and metalloids in 3 different columns I have written. Just see See once, metals are shiny, non-metals dull, and metalloids have properties of both metals and non-metals. Metals are good conductor of heat and electricity, and non-metals are poor conductor of heat and electricity. And they are semiconductor. Some are conducting, some are non-conducting. They are malleable, metals are malleable and ductile. Non-metals are solid, tends to be brittle and non-malleable. And metalloids have properties of both metals and non-metals. Noble gases. There are 6 noble gases. As I told you, helium, neon, argon, krypton, xenon, radon. Helium, neon, argon, krypton, xenon and radon. These 6 noble gases, you all know that they are having some different property. Noble gases belong to a group of gaseous element which are chemically inert. That means they are not reacting with anything. They are chemically inert. They are not chemically reacting with any other substance or elements, and do not react with other elements under normal conditions. Noble gases are present in traces in nature. This is very important, children. Noble gases are present in traces in nature, and hence they are also known as rare gases. You may get a question, why noble gases are known as rare gases? And sometimes we are calling it as noble gases, sometimes we are calling it as rare gases. See, helium is having atomic number 2, neon is having atomic number 10, argon is having atomic number 18, krypton is having atomic number 36, xenon is having atomic number 54, and radon is having atomic number 86. In the next class, when we will study about all these things, then we will know some more properties about the noble gases. See, all these, I told you about metals, I told you about non-metals, metalloids, noble gases. All these are comprises an element. All these are known as elements. Now, all these things, these elements, there are 118 elements. We know that till date. Now, these all are arranged in a table that is known as periodic table. That is not there in your portion. But when you will go to standard 9, that periodic table will be a chapter. Then you will see that all the elements, how the placement of the elements are there in the periodic table. In that periodic table, there are something which is known as periods and group. There are having columns, rows like this. This is the horizontal rows. They are known as period. They are having vertical column. They are known as groups. Now, in that periodic table, these noble gases, they have been given a separate group, that is group 8. But it is not there in your portion, so you need not to know about this also. But just I told you, in the next class when you will go to standard 9, you will read about it. We have completed about elements. Next is coming compound. What is a compound? A compound is a substance produced by combination of 2 or more elements, by the combination of 2 or more elements through a chemical process. This is very important, through a chemical process. Combining element lose their original properties and produce a new substance with completely different property. I'll explain to you in the next slide. A compound may be broken into the combining elements, they can be broken into combining elements through a chemical process, but not by physical means. If you want to separate by just picking with the hands, you can't do that. A compound may be expressed by a formula. Now see methane. CH4 is the formula for methane. This is an example of a compound. It is having a particular formula. Formula is CH4. What does it mean? One atom of carbon, and 4 atoms of hydrogen. 4 atoms of hydrogen. When chemically combines, they give you 1 molecule of methane. 1 molecule of methane. See that why we will call methane is a compound. It will be 4 will be here, 4 will be here. Why methane is a compound? Methane, the formula is CH4. Physical mixing of carbon and hydrogen does not produce methane. We will take carbon in one hand and hydrogen in another hand, and then you mix it, methane will not form. For the production of methane, it has to go via a chemical process. Now, property of methane, after formation of the methane, the property of methane is completely different from carbon or hydrogen, because it is made up from carbon and hydrogen. But the property of methane is totally different from carbon and hydrogen. Carbon is a solid, hydrogen is a gas, and methane is also a gas. But there is a difference between the gaseous methane and the hydrogen gas. It is heavier than hydrogen. Methane cannot be broken into carbon and hydrogen by physical means. If you want, we cannot separate it. Similarly, for water, the formula for water is H2O. You all know. And you know that how H2 is forming? The H2 is forming 2 atoms of hydrogen. When chemically combined with 1 atom of oxygen, it produced 1 molecule of H2O. 1 molecule of H2O. Now H2 is a compound. Why H2 is a compound? Because physical mixing of hydrogen and oxygen does not produce water, that you know. Electricity is needed for chemical combination. Next is property of water is completely different from hydrogen and oxygen. You know that. Can you feel the hydrogen and oxygen when you are drinking water? No, na? Hydrogen and oxygen are gases, but water is a liquid at room temperature. Water cannot be broken into hydrogen and oxygen by physical means. For the breaking of oxygen also it can be done, but for that electricity is needed. So water is a compound. It is given some example of compounds. Ammonium chloride. The constituents are hydrogen, nitrogen and chlorine. And you know the formula is NH4Cl. So the compound is having a particular formula. And it is having a particular composition. Okay. Sugar is a compound. It is a compound made up of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen, and it is having a particular formula C12H22O11. Next is sodium metal, that is Na. Na. When react with chlorine gas, that is Cl2, it is giving you table salt, that is 2NaCl, to be here for balancing the equation. So there is a fixed proportion, 2 atoms of Na is required and 1 molecule of chlorine is required to form 2 molecule of NaCl. There is a particular formula. NaCl is the formula of the table salt. Now hydrogen and oxygen is giving you H2O. If I want to write it as equation, then H2 plus O2 is giving you 2H2O. So it will be 2 here. But they are having a particular formula. Now in this table, I have given you some compounds. You are very much familiar with these compounds and constituent elements and with their formula. See, sodium chloride, as I told you, the constituent elements are Na and Cl and the formula is NaCl. Water, constituent elements hydrogen and oxygen, formula is H2O. Glucose, carbon, hydrogen and oxygen, formula is C12H22O11. Zinc sulfate, constituent elements are Zn, zinc, sulfur and oxygen, its formula is ZnSO4. Sodium nitrate, sodium, nitrogen, oxygen, the constituent elements and formula is NaNO3. Carbon dioxide, carbon and oxygen are the constituent elements and the formula is CO2, it's a gas. Ammonia, the constituent elements are nitrogen and hydrogen, its formula is NH3 and this is also a gas. So these are the formula for a particular compound. Next is, what is a mixture? A mixture is an impure substance. Compound is a pure substance because it is having a particular formula, it is having a particular composition, so they are pure substance. But mixture is an impure substance produced by the combination of 2 or more elements of or compounds through a physical process where no chemical change takes place. A mixture may be separated into its combining components through a physical process. You are mixing some pebbles to rice grains. Now, with a physical means, by physical process, you can separate these two by hand picking only. No chemical process is required for that. But what I said, if you want to separate hydrogen and oxygen from water as it was a compound, for that you required electricity has to be passed. But if you want to separate a mixture, as I told you, pebbles and your rice grains, you can do it by hand picking only. That is a totally physical process. Next is, combining components are held together by physical force only. Next is, combining components retain their properties in the mixture. Compound, they are forming a totally new thing. But for mixture, they retain their properties. A mixture does not have a formula. You cannot give any formula for that rice grain and the pebble mixture. A mixture does not have fixed melting and boiling point. Here I have given you one example, sand mixed with iron filings. Iron filings means the small pieces of iron, that is the powdered form, powder type of thing. Combination of sand and iron filing is a mixture. Why? Because number one, two different entities, compound sand is a compound, okay, sand is a compound, compound sand and an element iron are simply mixed to produce the impure substance, so it is becoming an impure substance. Sand iron mixture, I cannot give any particular name for that, I have to call it as sand iron mixture. So naturally it is not having any chemical formula, but for forming that, it does not involve any chemical process. Sand and iron particles are not held by chemical force. They're just mixing. You're just mixing it. It's a mixture. Both iron and sand retain their individual properties in this combination. Iron and sand may be separated from each other using a physical process such as magnetic separation. With the magnet, the iron will be attracted to the magnet, and you can very easily separate these two. Sand iron mixture does not have any formula, as I told you in the beginning only. So sand and iron filing, it's a mixture. Combination of these two is a mixture. Next is categorization of mixture. Now based on composition, mixture may be categorized into two parts, homogeneous mixture and heterogeneous mixture. See that mixture can be categorized heterogeneous and homogeneous. You can see from the diagram, this is heterogeneous and this is homogeneous. Some idea is coming by seeing the diagram. Let me explain this in the next slide. What is homogeneous mixture? Homogeneous mixture are uniform composition. It's having one phase. One phase means part of sample with uniform composition and properties. Uniform. Throughout same. Like this. See how the elements, how the components are placed. Small particles and it is evenly distributed. Example, salt water solution. You take a glass of water, mix 1 spoon of salt in it. Dissolve it properly, stir it properly. Let it dissolve. Now you just test the 1 spoon of water from anywhere inside the glass. You will get the same taste throughout the glass. So that is homogeneous mixture. See in the figure, it's showing vinegar. Two types of vinegar. Okay, and vinegar is nothing but a mixture of homogeneous mixture of acetic acid and water. Okay, next is iodine, vinegar, as I told you. Stainless steel is a mixture of iron, chromium and nickel. It's a mixture and it's a homogeneous mixture. Throughout the same composition of iron, chromium and nickel is present in stainless steel. Actually, a solution is a homogeneous mixture of two different matters. Solid, liquid and gas are uniformly dispersed into one another. This all you read. Example of different states in solution. Homogeneous mixture I'm talking about. Gas in gas. That's a homogeneous mixture. It can form gas in gas, dry air. Oxygen in nitrogen. Gas in liquid. You're very much familiar with that. Soft drinks. Carbon dioxide gas and a very high pressure is dissolved in water. And that is why when you are opening the bottle of a cold drink or soft drink, you are getting the fizz because that carbon dioxide is coming out. It's a homogeneous mixture. Liquid in liquid, antifreeze. It is known as antifreeze, alcohol in water. Solid in liquid, that is salt water, sugar water, whatever it may be. Solid in solid. Solid in solid, that are alloys. Here I told you about the brass is an alloy or an homogeneous mixture of zinc and copper. Both are solid. They are solid metal. Zinc is also solid. Copper is also solid. In the previous slide, I told you about the stainless steel. Now next is solid in gas. Smoke, dust particle in air. These all are solid in gas. These all are forming homogeneous mixture. Next is heterogeneous mixture. By seeing the name only, you can understand that heterogeneous mixture means not having the same composition throughout. What is written? See the figure. From the figure also you can understand. It is not evenly distributed. See this one? Not evenly distributed. So what is written? A heterogeneous mixture is formed when more than one components or phase are non-uniformly mixed. More than one components, maybe 2 components, 3 components, 4 components, more than one components, non-uniformly mixed. The components may be mostly separated through simple physical means. See the example, salt and pepper. You mix salt and pepper, but after mixing also you will find that it is not a homogeneous. The composition may not be same throughout. Cereal, rocks, packets of assorted candy. You can understand the example of heterogeneous mixture. This one, packet of assorted candy. It is a heterogeneous mixture. Okay, now ores. This is a new word for you, ores. What is known as ores? An ore is an assorted heterogeneous mixture of various minerals. 2-3 minerals are mixed and it is forming an ore, from which a useful component, 2-3 things are mixed, from there may be only one component, one useful component, which may be a metal, which may be a non-metal. You can extract that useful component from that ore, which is an assorted heterogeneous mixture. And you can extract that metal or non-metal easily in a cost-effective manner. That is known as ore. From ore you can get the mineral in a cost-effective manner. So that ore is an example of heterogeneous mixture. Like that, packets of assorted candy is an example of heterogeneous mixture. Next is, what is suspension? Suspension is a heterogeneous mixture. This is also, you have read it, then again, a suspension is a heterogeneous mixture where solid particles remain steadily suspended throughout the solvent. Okay. Particles in a suspension are larger than the particles found in a solution. And that is why it is not fully dissolving. remains steadily suspended. Solid particles in a suspension may be evenly distributed in the solvent through a rigorous shaking. If we'll shake it, then it will evenly distribute it. But bigger particles eventually settle over time. See the figure. We have taken water in a glass and then take sand in a bowl and then mix this two. And then you stir it. The sand will be evenly distributed throughout and then allow it to settle down for some time. And you will get it that the mixture still has undissolved solid particles settle at the bottom with some particles still floating. And with the time, this will also settle down. This is known as suspension. See, another example of suspension, and we are getting it from heterogeneous mixture. Don't forget that. Now, a heterogeneous mixture with big particles that settle down when left undisturbed. Don't touch it. Liquids that need to be shaken well before using. If you want to use that suspension once again, then before using, you please shake it. Otherwise, some bigger particles will settle down. So you will not get the solution, the required solution in that case. So before using it, please shake it. Example, oil and vinegar dressing. If you want to mix it, then you will find that after some times it will settling down. Now, if you want to use it, then mix that bottle and then you use it. Muddy water. These all are the example of suspension. Different example of suspension. Mercury shaken in oil, oil shaken in water, powdered chalk in water. This is a very familiar example. Dust in air, soot in air. Mixing or shaking needs to occur to form a suspension. Give time, suspension usually separate on their own. If you give them time, the bigger particle will settle down. And then you just take the upper part by decantation. This is known as suspension. Now it is coming emulsion. What is an emulsion? An emulsion is a mixture of two or more liquids that are normally immiscible. An emulsion is formed when two immiscible liquids, one of which is uniformly dispersed throughout the other as fine droplets, normally of diameter 0.1 to 100 micrometer. This is micrometer. And what is that? 1 micrometer is equal to 10 to the power minus 6 meter. That means one is having a very small diameter. An emulsion must have at least two phases. Disperse or internal phase, and another is continuous or external phase. Example of emulsion: egg yolk, butter, mayonnaise, oil and water. These all are coming under emulsion. Now here with this slide, I am closing this video. Lesson 1 is completed here. Next video will be for separation of mixture, that is given in your book. That I will upload after some days. Before that, you go through this video, and after seeing the video, you open your book see the book, everything I have covered in the video, and then you can see the video once again. Go through it properly, and I think it will be clear to you. And you have to learn also. You can learn from the video also, you can learn from the book also. Till then, goodbye. For next video, I'll be uploading soon.